Welcome back to session 3 of learning the chapter Social Institutions, Continuity and Change. Today, in this beautiful time, I request all my dear students to take the page number 48, first paragraph. The first paragraph focuses on the central point of caste practices. We all know that caste practices happen in cultural and domestic sphere or framework. We have a culture. According to culture, we have some caste practices like marriage, prayers, which happen in our temple, in our house also. The people who belong to each house, they belong to a particular caste. Some may be belonging to upper caste, some may be to middle caste, some may be to lower caste. According to their caste, practices also will change. In our house also, prayers are going on, marriage functions are going on according to the rules of caste. Second point, endogamy. Endogamy means one should get married from within the caste. Endogamy was unaffected by modernization. We all know that modernization brought many changes in our caste practices, but endogamy was not affected by modernization because marriages take place in India from within the caste boundaries. Even though in some places intercaste marriages happen, some caste, this is very important, some caste boundaries became flexible because they belong to same socio-economic status. For example, there are some caste like Brahmin, Baniya, Rajput. Even though they belong to different caste, even though they belong to different caste, there are some similarities in their socio-economic status. Because of that, people belong to Brahmin, Baniya and Rajput, they are getting married one another because their socio-economic status is almost same, even though they belong to different caste. But intercaste marriage between an upper caste and a backward caste rarely happen today. This paragraph concentrates on the caste practices which are going on in India. Endogamy was unaffected by modernization. Intercaste marriages rarely happen. Endogamy happens in India, marriage from within the caste. And there are some castes like Brahmin, Baniya and Rajput. People are getting married each other because the caste has some flexibility with regard to socio-economic status. The second paragraph, the page number 48, concentrates on the topic intervention of caste in politics. This is very important. In the past, we know that there were some interventions of caste in the politics, and democratic politics was deeply influenced by caste. And nowadays we know that political parties are there, even though democracy is there in India. In India, democratic politics is there, even though democracy is there. There are political parties which are formed on the basis of caste. The people who belong to same caste, they are in unity they are unified, they are united, so they form a political party. And since 1980s, caste-based political parties emerged. Still it is there. It started in 1980s. Caste-based political parties emerged, and caste unity was an important factor in winning elections. It means the caste which is majority, they can win the election because the majority party have caste, their population is more higher than others, so there is a chance of winning the election because of population, because they are dominant caste. But things became complicated where there was competition among political parties who utilized same kind of caste. What is the meaning of this one? Competition increases. Because of that, within the caste there are some fightings going on from within the caste. So the people who belong to same caste, they are divided and they may support another leader who belong to another caste. Third paragraph concentrates on the topic M.N. Srinivas. We know that M.N. Srinivas was a sociologist and an anthropologist. What he did, he started to coin new concepts like Sanskritization and dominant caste. These are the concepts coined by M.N. Srinivas because he wanted to make us familiar with these concepts. He coined the word Sanskritization, he coined the concept dominant caste for making us familiar with the social change, because Sanskritization brought some changes, the caste system brought some changes in our society. The term was coined by M.N. Srinivas, so things will be clear to the people. But it was criticized by scholars. Then fourth paragraph concentrates on the topic Sanskritization. We have already studied the meaning of Sanskritization means copying the style of the higher class by lower class, such as the lower class, they follow new habit like vegetarianism, wearing sacred thread. Sacred thread normally usually worn by people who belong to upper caste, and performance of prayers for aiming at achieve economic and political benefit. Why the lower caste wanted to take over the position of higher caste for achieving economic and political, what we can say, benefit. But practices like wearing sacred thread was inviting some, what we can say, punishment, because the lower caste people are not allowed to wear, they were not permitted to wear the sacred thread, which was uniquely or exclusively worn by the people who belong to higher caste, so that the people who belong to lower caste, they were not permitted and they were also punished by the upper caste people. This is all about the paragraph 4 in the page number 48. Now we can move to page number 49, first paragraph, which concentrates on the topic dominant caste. What do you mean by dominant caste? Dominant caste means what? A caste which has large population. First point, dominant caste can be formed when there is larger population and they were granted land right. They are possessing land. They were given right or license to possess land by the partial land reform which affected after independence. After independence, the people who belonged to dominant caste, they were given privilege, they were given help, they were given license, they were given what we can say the possession, or they were given license to possess what we can say land. This is called land reform. Land reform actually benefited the dominant caste because they could, what we can say, could be granted land right. They were given land right to possess land after independence. And the land reforms took away the rights of the former claimants. Claimants means group of people, they are claiming for land without any evidence. They are just claiming. Soon after independence, during colonialism, they could claim land, but after independence, the new state emerged, and so that the new land reform affected. Because of that, the rights of the former claimants lost. They lost their rights, land reform rights. The upper caste did not contribute anything to the agricultural economy, and they also lost the land right because they are called the absentee landlords. The absentee, you have to listen. The absentee landlords means what? The people or landlords after independence, when the new land reforms passed or affected by the new government, the so-called the upper caste, they are called the absentee landlords. They lost their right because they could not contribute anything to the agricultural economy. They were not doing any agriculture. They are just giving their land to the lower caste people for getting cultivated. Because of that, they lost their land right because agricultural economy was not achieved. Instead, they claimed their rent. Instead of, it means what, they were not trying to produce agricultural economy, and they are just claiming the land. They are not trying to work for economic development, so they lost their right. They were living in cities and towns. They preferred city life. The so-called the absentee landlords, the upper caste, they preferred city life, and they were lazy because they were not benefiting anything for economic development. So they lost their land right. Now the land rights were granted to the next layer of claimants. Already I told you that soon after independence, new land reform passed, so that the former claimants, the old claimants, they lost right. But after independence, a new group emerged. They are called the next layer of claimants. The next layer of claimants, it means next generation, next layer of claimants, they achieved a new thing. What is that? They achieved the land, what we can say, right. They achieved, they gained, they earned the land right because they managed agriculture, and even though they were not cultivated, they were managing, they were the managers of agriculture, and they were not cultivating, they were managing, so that they were contributing something for the agricultural economy. So they achieved the land right. These mediators means what? Between the, what we can say, government and workers. These mediators depended on the untouchable caste for working on the land. The next layer of claimants, they they achieved land right. They are called mediators. The next layer of claimants are called mediators. They could achieve land right, so that they are the mediators. They managed agriculture. They contributed something for economic development. They depended on the untouchable, it means the lower caste people who were working on the land. These intermediate caste, it means what? The claimants, the next layer of claimants, they are mediators, so they are called intermediate caste, achieved economic power, and their large number led them to intervene electoral democracy based on universal franchise. After independence, we know that every citizen was given right to vote. This is called franchise. So that the people who belong to this intermediate caste, their number was very high. They are called dominant caste. They could achieve economic, they could achieve political power because their number was very high. So this intermediate caste achieved political and economic power, and so they could win elections, and they also took part in electoral democracy, and they became dominant caste. The intermediate caste who were managing agriculture, they became the dominant caste, played a good role in regional politics and the agrarian economy. They contributed, they managed agriculture, so they contributed a good role in economic development. For example, there are some intermediate caste like Yadavas of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, the Mukhaligas of Karnataka, the Reddis and Kamas of Andhra Pradesh, the Marathas of Maharashtra, the Jats of Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh, and the Patidars of Gujarat. And they are including in this list of the intermediate caste, the dominant caste. They managed agriculture and they depended on that untouchable for working on the land, and they became powerful economically and politically. So they became dominant caste. This is the meaning of dominant caste. One who should have money, the population should be high, so they can pressurize for winning the elections. Next paragraph concentrates on the topic significant and paradoxical change which happened in a caste system. This is very important, and we know that there are some questions in the page number 60. In what sense the caste became relatively invisible for urban upper caste? Now I am going to give you answer for this question. The fourth question given in the page number 60, very important question. Why the upper caste became invisible? Why the upper caste became invisible? Now I will make you understand it. The first point is that now I am teaching from page number 48 and paragraph 2. Please listen. We know that the caste system which became what we can say invisible, the upper caste became invisible. There are some reasons behind it. First one is that there are some significant and paradoxical changes occurred in caste system. Significant, important changes as well as paradoxical. Why it is paradoxical? Because it has invisible for the upper caste. The caste became invisible for upper caste. It means what? For the upper caste people, the importance of caste is lost. This is the meaning. For the upper caste people, the importance of caste is lost. What are the reasons? And not only for the upper caste, for urban middle class and upper classes. Upper caste, urban middle class and upper classes. For them, the caste, the importance of caste is lost. Now I will explain why. This is because these caste and classes benefited from developmental policies. The state, after independence, the new state started to rule. The new state introduced some developmental policies. So these are the caste, they could benefit maximum from the developmental policies. The upper caste, the urban middle and upper classes, they could benefit maximum from the developmental program introduced by the government. And so the caste, the importance of caste declined. For example, the people who belonged to upper caste, they understood that already they could achieve maximum from the privilege. So they became very rich. After that, they didn't need the help of the caste for achieving many things. Already they have achieved. From the developmental policies, already they have achieved benefits. So after that, they forgot about their own caste. Because for them, importance of caste is lost. Because already they achieved many things, many great things. The caste status played important role in ensuring that they had necessary economic and educational resources to utilize the developmental policies. For attaining the educational and economic benefits, they were helped by privilege. I told you that the upper caste, they are privileged. Because of the privilege, they could achieve economic and educational resources. Means already they achieved resources of economy and education. After that, they don't need the help of caste for achieving anything more. This is the meaning. The upper caste elite were benefited with the subsidized public education, education in science, technology, medicine and management, and took advantage of the expansion of state sector job after independence. Soon after independence, the upper caste, they were attaining a lot of things in the field of education, in the field of science. So after that, when they achieved, after that, they didn't need the help of caste for achieving more. For them, caste is not important because they achieved everything before. After that, they started to forget. They took lead over education in initial stage, did not face any serious competitions. They got resources in the field of education, and there were nobody to nobody to compete, to fight with them. Their privileged status got strengthened in the second and third generation, especially in the third generation they achieved adequate educational and economic capital, and caste plays no part in their public life, which became limited to regional practice, marriage and kinship. All upper caste are not privileged, some are poor. So I wanted to give you important point from this paragraph. The upper caste people, not only upper caste, there are some urban middle class, upper classes. The people who belong to these caste or class, they achieved everything from the privilege, from the government because of developmental policies. They achieved economic and educational benefit, and after that they forgot their caste because the caste they started to utilize in their what we can say public, not in the public, but religious practices and marriages. The caste for upper caste was limited to marriages and what we can say religious practices. For such people, caste became important only in religious practices and marriages. For public affairs, they don't need the help of caste. This is the meaning. Page number 50, paragraph 1. This is the answer for this question. What we can say, why the upper caste became invisible for the upper caste. The important point focused in this paragraph is there are some caste like scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. For them, caste became visible. For the upper caste, caste became invisible. But for the scheduled tribe and scheduled caste, the caste should become visible. What are the reasons? And because my first one is that these lower classes, it means what? Scheduled tribe and scheduled caste, they did not achieve anything from the developmental policies. But the upper caste, they achieved everything from development policy, so that they did not need the help of caste for satisfying their needs. But for scheduled tribe and scheduled caste, they need the help of caste because it gives them identity. The upper caste people, they don't need the help of caste for identity because already they are identified because they have economic and educational benefits. But scheduled tribe and scheduled caste, their identity is only in their caste. They don't have any resources in the field of economic and education. They also faced discrimination, and but there are some reservation policies. This is the only blessing from the part of government for them. And even though what we can say, they could not achieve anything from their identity. This is all about what we can say. Next paragraph, one more paragraph is there, last paragraph for session 3 of learning this chapter. Paragraph 2 in the page number 50. The present caste institution combines both a seemingly casteless upper caste and caste defined lower caste. In our society, upper caste is there, lower caste is there, but upper caste people, for them the caste system is not so important for them because they already achieved economic and educational resources. But the lower caste people, they are identified because of their caste, because they did not achieve anything from economic and educational policies introduced by the government, the state, soon after independence. This is all about session 3 of learning this chapter. I request all of you to go through the chapter. If you have any doubts, you can clarify. God bless you. Thank you.